Hello, this is Russell from
Tones of Evil.
and you're listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, loony listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast. This is episode 207, and you are with your High Priest of Khonshu Rey. Salutations, and tonight we are looking at a LUNAR-PICK modern run review based on a waxing crescent in the sky. And with our modern run, by that I mean The Vengeance of the Moon Knight, issue 5, Shock and Awe. And with me, returning to cap off this week is that wolf-like, that supernatural co-host, Jack Russell
Give me a keg of beer.
Moran. Russell, welcome back.
Yes, I'm so glad to be back. You know what, Ray? Depending on when this episode comes out, it'll be my 1 year anniversary of first appearing in some... Because I sent some feedback for when Age of Khonshu started.
Yes.
Last May. So
wow, that's a year already. I remember when you got that feedback from you. Yeah, because I remember being quite excited to hear from you. Listeners, those of you will know from the past as well. Apart from being a podcaster himself now, Russell, you are one of the IT scribes, and we were writing some articles for Paint Monk's Library, all to do with Moon Knight. So it was really fun to actually hear you, Russell, for the first time. Yeah. But anyway, loonies, we are going to get cracking straight into it. A big thank you, of course, to our gracious patroonies, so the co-producers and executive producers on each of our episodes. You can become a patroonie as well if you check out our page. More details towards the end of the show for that. A big thank you alongside Russell here, who is a patroonie himself, to Daniel, Justin, Derek, Wayne, Jordan, Josh, James, and Anthony. So a huge thank you to you guys for helping support the show, helping it run itself, so to speak, which is really cool. Also, as well, a big shout-out to Fringe Knight by Daniel Doing, an original indie comic based on Erie, Pennsylvania's very own mysterious superhero. Sorry, tripped over my words there. And Hello Headphones, empowering gamers to play at their best, and Dreamland Comics, the Superhero Superstore. Now, Russell, we have this awesome comic that you chose. Would you be able to let the listeners be privy to why you chose Vengeance of the Moon Knight issue 5? I know why.
Vengeance of the Moon Knight I think is underrated as a whole. That's actually one of my favorite Moon Knight runs.
It's fun, isn't it? It's good.
Yeah, it's fun, it's action-packed, and I love that, they tried to have Marc overcome his demons. Like, it's nice to see someone overcome their demons every once in a while. You don't want them to constantly be in torment.
Yeah.
But I also did choose this specific one because the cover.
Yes.
Which, unfortunately, as we'll find out, is kind of misleading. But, Marc takes on our old pal Ebenezer, the Scarecrow, but not the Scarecrow you're familiar with, I'm sure.
Yes, it's a really cool cover. Look, for the patroonies with the video, that is a cover there. Sorry, I'm reading it off the trade. Really cool, really great art. I love the art throughout. Scarecrow and Moon Knight there, and we get a lot of the crows as well at the beginning. Very cool indeed. Vengeance of the Moon Knight, issue 5, released April 2010. So we have writer Gregg Hurwitz, penciler Jerome Opeña, inker J. Leisten, colorist Paul Mounts, letterer Joe Caramagna, and editors Jody LeHeup and Axel Alonso. Now, as you just saw as well, this is available Well, it's long out of print, I think, in trade form, but you can pick it up in trade if you somehow find it. Floppies are still there, and digital, and of course it's on Marvel Unlimited as well, so easy access if you have the subscription, or if you go to Comixology and buy it, it should be there. Russell, how are you absorbing your knowledge of this issue?
I own the floppy because
yes,
I own them all.
Yes,
but I actually read it off Marvel Unlimited because I didn't feel like digging out.
I did
comics,
that.
So
I do that too as well. Sometimes it's just easy to read it from the digital, especially kind of like in bed as well, like when the lights are out. You can at least still read. So listeners, for those of you that don't know as well, what Russell and I will do, we'll start off with a bare bones, like to call it. That's a synopsis. And Russell, I'm not sure if you've got the prompt sheet up. I haven't discussed it with you yet, but we'll split that up. That's quite a nice little lengthy synopsis. So just in case you haven't got the issue, and you want to know what this is about, what we're talking about, we'll do that. Then we'll just dive into some aspects, again, writing, art, characterizations, anything like that. We'll just freeform it, Russell. And and we'll cap it off with a moon rating system. Now, to get this out of the way, Russell, vanilla rating or Khonshu's rating system, what will you go for?
Well, I went with Khonshu last time, so I'll go with vanilla this time.
Okay, excellent. Okay, I'll go for Khonshu's. I'll always go for the other one. Let me just update the prompt sheet there. 1 second. Oh, we might have a Scarecrow on the other side there. That's okay. That's okay. All right. So, Russell, why don't you kick us off with the bare bones for this?
All right. Using the large flock of crows to his advantage, Marc waits to coordinate his attack with the crows when they begin to swoop down as a means to distract the goons. With the largest goon roped down, Frenchie quickly drops a net to gather the flock, which in turn exposes the Scarecrow. Moon Knight quickly takes down Scarecrow, but he teases Marc about Bushman's return. Moon Knight is haunted by the news and finishes Scarecrow. That night, lying in bed with Marlene, Khonshu returns to Marc. Still looking for blood, he grows more hungry for vengeance. Marc decides to visit his closet. Marc decides to visit his closet and look for a certain tape that could remind him of his new purpose as Khonshu becomes louder. The police interview from Carmela Dominguez. I'm going to butcher that name. Before the trial of Marc Spector, watching her testimonial reminds Marc of his new path. Meanwhile, Frenchie is at a gala function and still sees the former horrendous man he was behind the mirror.
Back on the streets, Moon Knight looks for Crawley to find more information on Bushman. Randomly, they are attacked as an inmate knocks Crawley down hard. Out from the shadows emerges Bushman. Marc's fears are real. Moon Knight rushes to Bushman, but he fires a rocket launcher at him, to which Marc dodges but hits the siding of a building. Moon Knight quickly runs to the siding and uses his carbonadium suit to help level the building. However, this leaves Marc exposed to attacks. Bushman sets a heavy blow to Moon Knight's stomach, but Marc continues to hold the siding. With Bushman on top, he leaves his inmates to attack Marc in order to make the building collapse on him. Just as they make their move, Moon Knight quickly finds a way to support the building and attack the inmates. Just as a large goon arrives to stump Marc, he manages to trick him by allowing the siding to fall on him. With Bushman gone and the inmates defeated, Marc cuts a crescent moon on the large goon's fabric shirt, not exposing blood, to leave his mark. Moon Knight's Angel Wing, a Moon Knight version of the Hobglider, arrives just as Spider-Man witnesses the carving. Peter questions Marc's new persona as he too doesn't trust his new ethics. Yet as Peter is talking to Marc about having a code, Marc replies, "How's that working out for you?" as Norman Osborn billboard hangs above him. So there you go, Loonies. That is a pretty cool synopsis there, Russell. If you haven't read the comic, you're pretty much brought up to speed there, albeit some pretty cool details, which I'm sure we'll get into. But before we start, on any notes at all, Russell, overall, what did you make of this issue 5 of Shock and Awe?
Well, by the cover, I was a little disappointed with the overall. That the little Scarecrow snippet was pretty much just the beginning. But, the story made up for it quite a bit. Like I said before, Vengeance of the Moon Knight is, I think, underrated. And this is probably the most interesting that Bushman has ever been. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, because I was about to say I found Bushman quite interesting in the Houston run, but that really wasn't him. That was the visage of Bushman, that was Khonshu. This is actually like Bushman, which is really good, because he actually looks quite deadly. He's got control over these inmates and stuff. I enjoyed it as well. I kind of always forget how much of an easy read, and I don't know, just how slick Hurwitz's writing is. He's got little bits, his attention to detail here and there. He's got little ideas that he peppers throughout the issue, and for me, it becomes more than just an action flick. An action flick, an action comic. There's just some little bits in there that kind of make you think, and I really enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
So I guess if we just freestyle this, point-wise, any major points of note that you want to raise and discuss?
Well, I like I said, I think previously, is I like how they're portraying Marc as kind of, how do I put it? He's kind of a recovering. It's almost like a recovering alcoholic a little bit. He's doing everything he can to make up for his past mistakes.
Yeah.
And he's trying to prove to the world, and in this case, he's trying to prove to Spider-Man that, I'm a good guy. I'm not maiming people anymore. Hence why he carved the crescent in the shirt with no blood.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's trying to he's looking for some redemption, and I always love a good redemption story.
Yeah.
And it's just really interesting, because when you think of Moon Knight now, you think of him as kind of this half-crazed, lunatic, which, I'm not saying that, obviously, if you're mentally ill, you can't really help it. You can,
for sure.
But in this, I mean, between stuff like Moon Knight core memes and stuff, the broader audience just looks at Moon Knight as this lunatic. But I like that they were trying to redeem him a little bit. He was trying to be more in line with the Mensch version of himself, and he has all these cool gadgets and, like you said, the hob glider, the angel wing.
Someone slipped that in there, I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And another thing I love is how he was genuinely afraid that Bushman was back.
Yeah, that's actually a good point as well. Yeah. Which is
because it reminds him of when he was crazy, if for lack of a better term. It kind of that haunts him to this day, the whole cutting Bushman's face off. And Khonshu is still trying to dig his claws into Marc, and Bushman is the personification of that.
Yes.
So it's good stuff. I think it's really good writing.
I think you've touched upon some really good points there, Russell, and actually you've covered quite a bit that I think interrelate to each other like this point. So the main thing that you're saying, if I can backtrack a little bit, you were talking about how Marc's looking to be redeemed. He's definitely got this level of guilt and this thing hanging over him. And I think one of the important scenes in this is just as the title for the issue, Past is Prologue, comes out. It's that scene with Marc in bed with Marlene. And he kind of gets up, and this is kind of set up by Hurwitz. He kind of gets up. He's talking to Khonshu, who's again always goading him, but he goes into that secret compartment, I believe, where he's got a lot of stuff, a lot of reels, and he goes through what I think is the wife of one of his victims as a mercenary, right? Like she's talking about how the killer was ruthless and all that. Very much so. This is meant to be, I guess, one of the victims of Marc when he was a mercenary. So he's kind of suffering and going through that again. He's I guess it's maybe cathartic, or he's reminding himself of it. And I think it's really well done, what I mentioned before about those little details that Hurwitz introduces. As you mentioned, towards the end, it's that little gesture of cutting the crescent moon but not cutting it into the flesh. That shows that he's actually trying to make a change. He's actually actively trying to get away from that past of being a mercenary, which he has massive guilt over. I mean, and this is good. It's touched upon in the Bemis run as well, how he's, and of course in some of the other series, but sometimes, as you say, it's kind of forgotten about how he's almost like Black Widow-esque. He's got this massive kind of guilt. So I think that was a nice touch by Hurwitz with the crescent moon just on the fabric. But also, as you mentioned with Bushman, not only is he a reminder, or he's scared of Bushman because of the face cutting incident, but I believe Bushman is basically a physical memory of his past as a mercenary. So, of course, that would scare the hell out of Marc. He wants to put that behind. That's why he says a couple of times, I've killed this guy. Like, he's dead. He's gone. And it's almost as if Marc's just trying to convince himself that with Bushman gone, he can lay everything to rest. But the fact that Bushman's back kind of parallels this idea that you can never get rid of your past. And I think that's really, really cool. Very strong theme in this issue.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Bushman in this is just, like I said, I think this is one of the better portrayals of Bushman. Like, you don't, I mean, obviously we're talking about just this single issue, but, he had been resurrected by Dormammu, with, he's joining up with the Hood and Norman Osborn and all sorts of stuff. So it's cool. Like,
he fires a rocket at Marc. I mean, it's not like Marc's a Superman or anything like that. He's firing, but also as well, he's pure evil. He may not even been going for Marc. He was going for that kind of apartment building with people in it. So we're talking a bad bastard here.
I think my favorite moment is probably when Moon Knight is struggling to hold up that structure and Bushman just punches him like right in the gut. Yeah. And he's just like, I'm just going to leave you here, which at the same time, Bushman, you're an idiot. You could have killed him right there. Yeah, I know. But,
That was one of my favourite scenes as well. And let's kind of elaborate on that because that wasn't shown in the synopsis. I loved it. He basically, Marc somehow slips out of his carbonadium suit between then and when Bushman turns around. And so it's just the suit holding up the building, which is awesome because it shows the technology. I love those little details. But then he comes swinging in. This is one of Rebecca's favourite iterations. Moon Knight with mask and boxer shorts. That's all he has. And he's got his... has he got a truncheon? I don't even know if he does. No, he's...
I don't think so. I think
he just comes in kicking. But that's such a cool... Again, like for me, it's a little bit gimmicky, but it's such a cool idea. These little bits that Hurwitz puts in, it just kind of makes it, because it's different. It's different. It's not your straightforward Moon Knight just holding up a building in his armor. He's taken it to a different kind of level. But yeah, very, very cool. And as you mentioned as well, a lot of the gadgets. So this is part of his gadgets, and we do see his moon glider. But I also love how... So he was in his boxer shorts, but it's almost Iron Man-like. His armor kind of comes and forms around him. I hope I'm reading that correct. It does seem like it. I don't know how it's done, but it's comic technology, armor technology. Yeah.
How do you feel about this more technologically savvy Moon Knight?
Yeah. It's so weird, isn't it? Because there is a bit of me loving that, obviously the classic, but I like this. Look, if you ask me my favorite, I would have to say would either be the classic costume or the Declan Shalvey armored costume, only because it just looks so cool. But by having this all kind of urbanized and technology filled, I like it. I like it as well. It kind of gives that realism to it.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them to do this version in the MCU.
Yeah.
Like, this feels like it fits right in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah, I kind of just prefer the classic Minch, David, like, Finch kind of just white.
Yeah.
And I love the Declan Shalvey, of course, and I love Mr. Knight, too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I thought this was really cool, He needs a little bit extra oomph in his tank to be able to take on these more powerful. I mean, he's going up against the Green Goblin right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not the Green Goblin right now. He's Iron Patriot, but
Yeah, it is interesting as well because in the 90s they did that again. It's like we can't just have Moon Knight, a guy in spandex, running around. Let's give him adamantium armor and let's give him wrist blasters with crescent darts. So they've tried to amp it up. I mean, it always comes and goes. For me, I like it like as a transitional thing. Like he's got his real costume. These costumes are, for particular situations, and I think this is okay anyway because it's justified. If we go back to issue 1, Hurwitz opens this whole gambit with Moon Knight jumping out in a moon cycle with 2 guns ablazing, and so he's really just stated up front this is a very different Moon Knight, and yeah, I like it. I think it's great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having different armor for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to talk a little bit about the cover star, about Scarecrow a little bit?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Even though it's very brief. Shout out to Inner Demons, because Scarecrow is known as a Ghost Rider villain, of course. And he's so cool and creepy. Like there was an annual, a Ghost Rider annual. I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was written by Garth Ennis, and it was like one of his first works.
Nice, yeah.
And oh man, that one's great. It's Scarecrow and Ghost Rider, and I'll have to hunt down what number it is, but it's really good. Obviously, when people think of a Scarecrow comic book villain, there's the one that always comes to mind.
Absolutely.
But this one, while having a very similar aesthetic, is very different. I mean...
Yeah, how so? I was about to ask because I don't know that much about Scarecrow in the Marvel Universe, nor that much in the DC. To me, like, I was always flummoxed as to, like, number one, how can they look so similar and have the same name and get away with it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess Scarecrow is public domain, so you
can't...
Yeah, but it's just so... It's so obvious a thing. So how are they different in?
Well, the DC version was a psychiatrist, and was obsessed with fear, and developed a fear toxin, and he sprays you with that, and you see your worst fear, and he's just that's his gimmick.
Yeah.
The Marvel version is a little bit more strange in that he's like a contortionist.
Oh.
Like he can bend his body in weird ways, and it makes for some really creepy imagery.
Okay.
And both versions have used the pitchfork, but I think the Marvel version, his is he might have used the pitchfork before the DC version did.
Oh,
I'm not.
okay.
I don't quote me on that. Also, the classic DC version always had that what I always call the witch's hat. You know, the little pointy.
Yep. Classic Scarecrow hat kind of thing.
Now, in more recent years, the Scarecrow's dropped the hat, and making him look more like the Marvel version, to be honest.
Right.
But
so does the Marvel version? For some reason I thought the Marvel version used fear as well. He doesn't do that. He's not like a.
I don't think so. I don't know a ton about him, but I know, strangely enough, his first appearance was fighting Iron Man in like Tales of Suspense.
Oh wow!
But yeah, he eventually moved to being like a Ghost Rider villain.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he has any like powers or anything. I just know that he's contorts, and we saw him use those crows in this.
Yeah, which was very cool. I thought, you don't often. It's pretty obvious, like scarecrows and crows, but you don't really often see it, I think, used. And I thought it was used to great effect here. And again, there was a little bit that Moon Knight gets to interact with Frenchie. And like he's going, press the pedal on your left. No, your left. And, so he's got an idea, like he's got a plan to capture these crows and stuff. It's, I think the action scene at the beginning was great. It's a great way to hit the ground running. It wasn't constant action throughout, but I mean, this was really such a kind of visceral issue. I just really loved it.
Just that image of Mooney pinning Scarecrow against the wall with his own pitchfork is just like, yes. He makes quick work of Scarecrow.
He doesn't last long, does he? There are some. I mean, if we are to just look at Scarecrow, there's one panel here for the video people. I really enjoyed it. It's a close up of Scarecrow's face. It just Opeña does a really good job to make him look creepy because the eye holes aren't totally on the eyes. It's kind of a slight upward angle, and his teeth are baring. So he really does come across as quite a little bit of a scary character. But yeah. Speaking, I guess, of which, I mean, there's a lot here to talk about some of the other characters. One of the other ones that shines a bit of a light is Frenchie. And I like the attention laid on there. Frenchie is obviously, he's feeling it as well. Like there's some sort of, obviously he's traumatized by his mercenary days. And so there's this little scene where I don't know where they are. They're some well-to-do kind of gathering,
gala or something.
Yeah, and they're talking about paintings and stuff. And Frenchie goes away. You're right. I can't remember Frenchie's partner's name. I thought it was Richard, but there's a mention here of Danny. But anyway, he goes up to the bathroom, and then it's just pure art. You just see a really nice image of Frenchie looking at himself, and then memories of him as a merc. Interesting take, I thought, Russell, because it's not often you see Frenchie dealing with this sort of stuff. Again, I have to reread issues 1 to 4 to maybe there's a slow burn for that. But yeah, it's nice to actually get a bit of attention Frenchie's way.
Yeah, he's got just the same amount of guilt that Marc does, and in a way, this is also Frenchie's redemption story, in a way, because while he's feeling all this guilt and all this, remorse, he's still compelled to go out there and help Marc.
Yeah.
So I think, to him, I mean, this could be my own headcanon here, but Frenchie he sees that Marc is trying to better himself, and he thinks that if he helps Marc now, it will better him too.
Okay. Yeah.
So, like, because I think at the beginning of Vengeance of the Moon Knight, aren't all of, like, Marc's agents, we'll say, aren't they, like, estranged from him? Doesn't he start out, like, alone?
Yeah, it must lean from the Benson, the Houston run as well, because there's always a tenuous relationship between Frenchie and Marlene and Marc. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. So, yeah, this is what I thought was interesting then. I mean, it's a good headcanon that you're saying, because it's almost as if Frenchie's making an effort to try and kind of make peace with Marc as well. So we get a bit of that as well, which is pretty cool. The other big character, the big supporting character here, Russell, and it's another standout for me in this issue, was what happens to Crawley. So again, a nice little smart thing I think that Hurwitz does. It's obvious if you think of it, but it's just funny to see it realised. Crawley's talking rather eloquently to Marc. He gets smacked by one of the inmates, and he starts talking street, kind of like. It's so funny. But
it was quite a surprise because like I almost had to like. I know Marc did too in the story, but I had to like read it twice. I was like, "What is Crawley doing? Yeah. He never talks like this."
Yeah. I always remember. I can't remember. It's further down the line. I think he gets hit by a skateboard later on, and that kind of brings him back to normal. But it's just so funny. So it's it's not this thing. It's quite dark, with Bushman and Scarecrow, but it's not without its humor, which I like as well. So. It's a nice little balance, and of course, as we said, the action is just a plenty.
I think the action in this whole series is some of the best, and it feels like every issue they're throwing Marc up against another, big fight. Mm-hmm. Like we saw him fight the Sentry for God's sake. I know, and this was during Dark Reign. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is when Norman is taking over everything, and things are, for lack of a better term, they're dark, they're bleak right now. So, I love the characterization of Spider-Man in this. What little we get of him, he's very defeated. He's judging Marc. But at the same time, he can't even keep a handle on, his own life. So
it's easy to maybe vent your frustrations towards that guy, like Moon Knight, because he's openly kind of disruptive and against the grain. But you're right. They've got Spider-Man has got his own freaking inner demons to worry about.
Do you think it's funny that? Why is it always Moon Knight that gets, like, for lack of a better term, shit on by the other superheroes when Frank's over there just straight up murdering people with guns, and Spider-Man will be like, I'll work with you, Punisher, but don't kill anybody. But when Spider-Man sees Marc, he's like, freak!
Yeah. I think they're just shit scared of Frank. Don't piss him off, No, that's true. I don't know. I think because, you can argue the same thing with the Punisher, but I think the Moon Knight does it on himself as well. Like he really distances himself from the whole teams and stuff. And they've tried. Like I don't think they've ever actually asked the Punisher to be an Avenger and stuff. But Moon Knight has been. He has declined them. He has gone against them, stuff like that. So I think he's rife for being made fun of and being the dog's body of the heroes. Yeah.
I also don't think Frank has cut anybody's face off and wore it.
Yeah.
But
exactly. I mean, it's so ghastly. It's almost kind of like you got to make fun of it if you're a hero.
Yeah, he might shove a gangster's head into a tank full of piranhas, but I don't think he's gonna cut somebody's face off
and wear it. Yeah.
Yes.
That's just absolute bonkers. I also just want to highlight, we're talking about this is great action and all that and writing, but my God, I think the colours and the art in issue 5 and throughout Vengeance of the Moon Knight is fantastic. They go through a few different artists, but Jerome Opeña and, I mentioned it before, but the colorist Paul Mounts, there's some really good contrast here, particularly at the beginning when Frenchie's in the mooncopter and it's just red, like he's got that red tinge. Again, when, as I mentioned, he's thinking about his Merc days and there's a nice red. The colouring is really good here. And even when Crawley is standing next to the hobo barrel fire, what do you call them? So really hats off there. I don't think we compliment colorists enough, but this really does make this art crisp and clean, and really pops out of the pages.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. It really pops. And, we don't, in most Moon Knight runs, we don't get a lot of bombastic colors like this.
No.
It's usually either, very dark and dreary. Usually the highlight would be Marc's costume, the white against the darkness. But no, we get lots of colors in this, and I think it works great, especially with the art. Because the art kind of has this, it still has this grittiness to it, this realism, but with the bright colors, it makes it very cinematic.
It does, yeah, and I guess that's why I came across as slick to me as well. It just has this kind of really nice, polished in a good way look to it. What did you think of the depiction of Khonshu as well? He's kind of a little differently shown here with the red eyes and a bit more of a... I feel like
this... Yeah, this is like the proto version of the Ellis version, the Shelby version. This is... Because correct me if I'm wrong, I don't have it in front of me right now, but he does have a bird head, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. His, So, I can't really see it, but it's in there somewhere.
Yeah,
he does. He red eyes. It's not... It doesn't kind of look totally skull, but it's almost there, almost bird skull.
Yeah.
And it's not a suit. He's still got the Khonshu robe on, and but yeah, for sure, absolutely.
This is like the transitionary version of Khonshu, because when we first see Khonshu, he doesn't really talk. He's just the statue.
Yes.
And then he morphs along until we finally get to where he's using Bushman's features as a kind of a front. Then we have this kind of dark bird version, and then eventually we'll get the bird skull version, which I think most people, that's their favorite.
Yeah.
But I think this is a creepy version. Like, this really plays into him kind of always being there. He's almost like the devil at this point. He's trying to get Marc back, trying to get his soul back, and... Let me ask you, Ray, do you kind of prefer it when Marc is telling Khonshu to fuck off, or do you like it more when it's not exactly working together, because that just makes me think of Age of Khonshu, but like in the Ellis or like the Shelby type thing, they weren't really at odds with each other.
Yeah.
And then they were back at odds with each other in the Lemire run. So, and me, I like the version where he's just ambiguous. Is he there? Is he not there? We don't really know.
Yeah.
But I do really appreciate it when Moon Knight, tells him, get the hell out of here. I'm my own person. I don't need you, because that's part of that redemption that we were talking about.
Yeah. Sorry.
I was just going to real quick say that this kind of started at the end of that Black Spectre story with God and Country, because at the end of that, Marc told Khonshu he was done. Now, obviously, some other stuff went down in between that and this, but it's part. Like I said, the redemption angle is good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do like that thing when Marc's going against him, and I like it. I think it was the Black Spectre run or some other one that I'm thinking of, but some of the writers managed to twist it really well, like in the fact that, look, I'm done with you, Khonshu, but I'm going to still carry out. I'm still going to mete out some justice, but it's not going to be for you. It's going to be, that sort of thing. It's such a delicate relationship because, as mentioned, like Khonshu is the one that brings Marc back. He's the one that Marc owes him for stuff. So you can't totally, fly in the face of Khonshu. I mean, even here, Khonshu's going, he's just goading Marc as well. So you're nothing. You're not special. I made you, and I can make another 10. So he's kind of really just psychological trauma, abuse to him.
Yeah.
He goes, what's his name? The Punisher? Why can't you be more like him? I bet his god is well fed. So, yeah. So
I love that Marc says, like, you obviously don't know Frank. Yeah.
yeah.
But
yeah.
I like it when he kind of tells him off, and Khonshu is, like you said, he's goading him, and like you said, Marc in a way owes Khonshu his life, but at the same time, Marc didn't ask to be brought back.
That's true.
So,
yeah,
in this, Khonshu seems like that abusive lover that you're trying to get away from, and they keep trying to entice you back, saying that they'll be, things will be different now. And, no, they won't be. But, Marc's kind of like the abused partner in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's taken the power back. He's not letting Khonshu walk all over him.
Yeah, it's a very, very complicated relationship. Like you said as well, I do like this whole ambiguity of Moon Knight and Khonshu, and whether Khonshu is real or not. But for the last few years, that's become more and more like less now. It's disappeared really. And if we're looking at Age of Khonshu, it's all but gone. I mean, Khonshu is in an Asgardian prison somewhere. Everyone else sees him. But like I don't know. We never know. Like that, it always can be reset in any new volume. I do like that ambiguity, but I am enjoying this relationship that Moon Knight has with Khonshu, and again, I think that Vengeance of the Moon Knight does it very well. I think very much the Houston run and the Vengeance of the Moon Knight, that era, 2006 to say 2010, works really well with that Khonshu. Bendis, we don't get that. It's pretty much just Marc's head and different identities come up. But I really enjoyed this Khonshu depiction. Yeah.
And I Bendis gets a lot of crap, and like he kind of deserves it sometimes. But like Bendis usually just takes like part of the canon and then just ignores the rest of it. Yep. And I feel like that's really what he did with his run on Moon Knight. I feel like he didn't know who the hell Moon Knight really was.
Yeah.
Now, he had Moon Knight in the Ultimate Universe. He was in the Ultimate Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah. But
obviously that was a different version.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about Bendis.
No. Hey, look, if anything as well, I was talking to someone, I jumped on to another show the other, just last night, talking about Moon Knight, and look, I would recommend, like the guy was saying, should I read the Bendis run, because I've heard like a lot of things. I said, you should, really. I mean, it's a very different take. It's not as bad as a lot of people kind of crap all over it. It's just different, It's because, exactly as you say, to me, Bendis is like a monument, like an architect who builds monuments. Rather, you can have an architect that builds a really good building, really good design, form and function. It's spatially beautiful and the experience. Or you can have those big architects that just build monuments, and they just pick one thing. I'm going to make a big, nice form of a building. I don't care about anything else. That's kind of like what Bendis does. He picks one aspect and he plays with it, and that's what you kind of have to go with. But it does rub a lot of fans up the wrong way. But it's certainly something that you should still read. Anyway, we shouldn't dwell on it.
Right. I was just going to comment real quick that I think it's hilarious that Bendis has done a run on each of the characters that you do a podcast on.
Oh yeah.
But I think the Spider-Woman is the only one that people think is good.
Superman
and Moon Knight are kind of maligned. What do you like? This is off topic, but real quick, what do you think is the most maligned, maybe the worst Moon Knight run? I mean, Bendis is always thrown out there. Some people throw Bemis out there.
Yep.
There's a lot of the later Marc Spector Moon Knight stuff that is thrown in that conversation. Fist of Khonshu is thrown in there. What does the High Priest think?
Look, as much as and I love a lot of his work, can't deny it. Towards the end of Marc Spector Moon Knight for me would have to be. But having said that, though, Terry Kavanagh, we have to remember, he wrote Marc Spector Moon Knight from, I think from memory, from about 35 issue on. So he had a good 25 issue run with Moon Knight, and a lot of that was I really loved, like Blood Brothers, with Randall Spector and Punisher, with Doctor Doom, really fun stuff. But it's just that kind of the last maybe 6 or 7 issues I couldn't lock onto, and I respect the ideas that he had, some new ideas that he was having, but it was just like an overload of ideas, and it was just too much to kind of absorb. So for me, it would be that last bit of Marc Spector Moon Knight. But I do love the run as a whole. I mean, it's 60 issues. It's fantastic, but it's just really hard to read those last ones. And the art as well, I'd say it's not my personal favourite. So, Stephen Platt. How about yourself? What do you think is your...
I think I would agree, because, the Bendis stuff isn't it's not what we wanted, per se, but I don't think it's written badly. It's... I have never went back to the Bendis run, and I have never went back to the Bemis run. I would think... Well, I would... First off, I agree with you that those last 6 or 7 of Marc Spector are just wild and crazy, and those would probably be the worst. And, I'm not crazy about Fist of Khonshu either, but for me, and I hate to say this, I think my least favorite is probably Bemis.
No, I can see that. Yeah.
That run, I think it started off really cool.
Yep.
And it kind of fell off by the end. It didn't keep my interest peaked. Yep. In some ways, it was even kind of boring. I know that's worse than being bad. But it's...
Oh, no, look, absolutely. Everyone's got the different tastes and stuff. And I will admit as well, I enjoyed the Bemis run, but you're right. And albeit that the High Priest managed to make a cameo, forever grateful and love the guy, Bemis. I did. I think I did even mention to him when we had him on, I found 199 and 200 really hard to read. The last 2 issues were very hard to read. And I think Bemis mentioned something like he intentionally made it very dense and difficult, but I just couldn't follow a thread in it. I'll have to reread it again, but I just found it very, very difficult. But the early stuff was great. I think the Isle of Ra, the Truth, the Sun King,
the Sun King.
It was really good. That first issue, 188. Oh man, it blew me out of the water without Moon Knight in it. And Dr. Emmett just getting immolated was just...
Yeah. Ugh. And those covers are great, too. Was it 188 where it's Moon Knight hanging off the side of the building looking... That's so cool.
That is very good.
And the one, I'm thinking in my head, there's the one where he's just kind of holding the crescent dart and there's tentacles or something coming around him, and...
yes. Yeah, that might have been with the collective. 196 or 7, yeah.
Yeah, Cthulhu makes an appearance in that run, too, which is hilarious. But,
no, it would, for sure. I mean, so they're different, and I'm sure a lot of loonies there as well will let us know, what your least favourite. I mean, I don't want to promote, obviously, sledging and slagging off series, but I mean, if you just generally didn't like it and that's it, be interested to know. We don't want to generate any hate towards stuff.
Yeah, just be constructive and remember that the people that wrote these are human beings.
Exactly.
Everyone has differing tastes and opinions, and everyone, some writers are on sometimes and sometimes they're off. So,
I mean, they've got to meet deadlines as well, so it's not like they're just inspired by a muse and write because it's lovely and dandy. They've got to work. They've actually got to make sure it works to their schedule. So you do get some hits and misses, unfortunately. Anyway, Russell, let's any other final thoughts for this issue 5?
Just final thoughts. I thought it was a great action-packed character piece. Like, we do get a lot of action and a lot of fun, sequences, but at the same time, I think this is a really good, like, in-depth look at where Marc is at the time.
Yeah.
Like I said, I love a good redemption story, and this one is definitely a redemption story. I feel like Vengeance of the Moon Knight was immediately thrown away when Bendis took over, and that's unfortunate. I would have liked to have seen where they went from Vengeance without, Bendis. But I think it's really good. Like, even talking about it now, I like it even more than when I read it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I would have to agree. You pretty much hit it on the head. Most of the points that I was thinking of. What comes across as an action issue, which it does very well, I think. On the surface level, if you look a bit more, there is so much more to this, because Hurwitz does take time to actually have little spots for all the characters, and it's not only Marc, which is really good, as we mentioned. He's got this thing hanging over his head, but you get these little moments with Crawley. You get it with Frenchie as well. Even as you mentioned, you get that dynamic and what Marc thinks of Bushman coming back. So these are little things that Hurwitz have introduced just to make you think a bit more about the characters, and it's not just a slugfest. So I really enjoy. Unfortunately, one of your favourite iterations, Scarecrow, doesn't get too much of a thing in here, but it set up a nice fight sequence at the beginning, at least. I would have loved to have seen him contort, because when you said that's freaky. That's like horror stuff. Yeah. But what would you give this, Russell? Oh, sorry, did you?
I was just going to say, like I said before, I think this is the most interesting version of Bushman. I feel like they kind of finally give him some personality, because before he was just a killing machine.
Yes.
But as for rating, I am going to give this I think I'm going to give it a waxing gibbous. I'm going to give it an 8.
Okay, waxing gibbous. So let me just plug that into the records there. Waxing gibbous. Fantastic. I would agree with you, Russell. I'm going for the big, beautiful yellow man. It's 8 out of 10 as well. I try to be very kind of discerning with my marking. Usually they hover around the 6.5s to 7.5s. 8. I think I was really impressed by. This is something that I had a lot of fun with. It actually makes me want to reread parts 1 to 4 as well. I want to see how it all kind of fits together, because it can easily, although it worked really well as a single issue, you can see this being a really important piece in the development of the whole story. And as you mentioned, it really does bring Bushman. It actually gives him a bit more something to his character. You see how kind of evil he is. He's quite a sinister character rather than just a killing machine. But yeah, 8 out of 10. So, Looney listeners, that is a review from both Russell and myself. Go check it out. As we mentioned, it's available readily on Marvel Unlimited or digital. Otherwise, you might find it a bit hard to get in physical form. I don't know, Russell, I know you've got the issue, but I think Vengeance of the Moon Knight issues here are quite hard to get. I don't know about you. Are they hard to get in the US still? Or?
Some of them are, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't remember most of the run being hard to get, but I remember the issues where he fights Deadpool are like $25 to $30.
Okay, right.
And that's probably just because Deadpool.
Deadpool,
yeah.
Okay.
But
Are you a fan of comic books? Are you a fan of comic book villains? Well, join me, Russell, as we take a walk on the dark side with Tomes of Evil, the podcast dedicated to discussing, analyzing, and overall glorifying the villains of Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and all your favorite indie books.
Tomes of Evil, a comic book villain podcast.
Hi, this is Al of Resurrections, an Adam Warlock and Thanos podcast, and proud member of the collective, and you're listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast.
Cool. Before we go, Russell, a bit of night lines, just for some previous episodes. I'm not sure. Do you have your prompt sheet up by any chance, or?
Yes, I do.
Okay. It's. I actually had put it in our previous episode, but I thought it'd probably be working better in this episode. How about I'll kick off the first one, and as you get yours on your screen, both of these are from YouTube. So this first comment was for episode 204, so that was with myself and Noel. Looney Tunes take, we're talking about Ethan Hawke and Marvel villains. So this is from Car Eternal, and they say, "So glad you guys are finally talking about the Ethan Hawke rumours. Every time someone brings up him being Dracula, it throws me into a nerd rage." And on a related note, do you think Marvel might be avoiding the announcement of Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight because they're planning some kind of Moon Knight identity disorder twist at us? Interesting. Thank you, Car Eternal. There's a couple of things there, Russell. First, your thoughts on Dracula and Moon Knight?
You know, I love Dracula.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know if... Maybe as a gag,
yeah.
But in a comic. I'd like to see them fight in a comic, especially this new run. He's hunting vampires, so why wouldn't Dracula show up?
Absolutely.
But for his first villain in a live-action thing, no. Because, I mean, they've had no interaction. It's just because of a meme.
Yeah.
And, like... I can see it almost being like a dream sequence where they just throw in, you know, Dracula, give me my goddamn money, you big fucking nerd. But yeah, no, Ethan Hawke, you know, I wasn't expecting him. You know, it's general consensus that he's the Sun King now, which you and I both know that I wish he was Black Spectre.
Yeah.
Which he could still be. I was thinking about this listening to your episode with Noel.
Yeah.
Is like, you know how he looks disheveled and kind of wearing that sack? Is like, well, when they'd have to change it, obviously, but when Carson Knowles came back from Vietnam, he was very disheveled and kind of just, you know, down on his luck. I would hate it, really, if he was Bushman, because while I do think there are concerns with the Bushman character being kind of, in some ways, racist or problematic, I would also think it would be bad if they whitewashed him to be a white guy. So it's kind of it's a gray area there.
Yeah.
They could definitely alter him enough to where they don't have to whitewash him and they don't have to be overtly racist with him either.
Yeah.
Which I think the later version of Bushman is not as much of a caricature as the original, or especially the Fist of Khonshu version, or not the Fist of Khonshu, but the Marc Spector Moon Knight version.
Yeah.
He was kind of very interesting, we'll say, in that. But
yeah,
I'm very excited. And as for the waiting to announce Oscar for the. It just doesn't make much sense to me.
I've got no idea why they're holding it back on it. I mean, it's pretty much common knowledge now. I just don't understand what they're doing. Like, Have they just said, "Oh,
The
stuff
wor-
that everyone knows
the
about
worst
it"?
kept,
Yeah,
worst kept secret.
yeah. Look, so Car Eternal, I don't know. They might be planning some twist. That would be totally wild, wouldn't it, Russell? But I think with someone of the profile and status of Oscar Isaac, you wouldn't want to waste him on so. If from what I'm thinking, you're implying, Car Eternal, if Oscar Isaac is only one of, say, many actors that will play Moon Knight, which would be a head spin, that would be interesting. But yeah, I think they will probably want to use the most they can get out of Oscar Isaac. He's got that star quality, so.
Yes.
Yeah. We have another one there, Russell, for the next episode 205.
Yes. This is from CMK7. Is this the beep boop boop beep beep beep?
That's it. That's it.
I'm so glad I finally get to do that. Loved these issues with the Nimrod Strange, aka Arsenal, and the Slayers Elite. Although the issues are dated today, at the time these were amazing. Issues like this really painted Moon Knight as a globe-trotting James Bond type superhero that I loved. What do you think the odds that the Slayers make an appearance in the TV show?
Look, anything is possible. Sorry, this is also aka Chris. CMK7 is Chris. Fantastic guy. He provides the video intro to the videos of our show. Thank you so much. But yeah, interesting. Slayers Elite. Look, they might. Who knows? Anything is possible in this show. I wouldn't put it past them because they are. I don't know. They can be used probably as fodder, maybe, and quickly killed off or something. Who knows? But exactly. I love this idea, Russell, about globe-trotting Moon Knight, and I think we'll see that in the TV show because, number one, Kevin Feige mentioned it's an Indiana Jones-esque kind of thing. What are your thoughts on Moon Knight being going beyond New York?
I think it harkens back to Minch's run, like we're talking about here. Minch threw him all over the place. One of my favorite issues is where I think it's a made-up city that he goes to, but it's like all about voodoo, and like there's these zombies, and this voodoo priest who's like using the zombies for like a drug cartel or something like that. I really like that issue. And the one that you're talking about here is the one where he goes to Jerusalem. Yeah, I think that's cool. Like, it definitely sets him apart, and the MCU likes its big, set pieces and all that stuff. And as for the Slayers showing up in the show, the MCU has pulled from some pretty obscure stuff. Like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, the average, probably even most comic book readers don't know who Agatha Harkness is. Or the Flag Smasher for that that purpose. But I wouldn't put it past them to have some kind of version of the Slayers in it, because it's just somebody he can take on.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if Ethan Hawke was Nimrod Strange?
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. I'm so looking forward to this show, and I just don't know what to expect. But I was sold on Oscar Isaac well, he's a great actor for one. I finally watched Ex Machina with him in it.
Is it good? Yeah,
it's so good.
Okay, I might have to watch that. I'm gonna have to watch that. Yeah.
But I was sold on him immediately when they started showing those training sequences.
How good is he in those?
God. He's great.
Yeah. I love this globetrotting aspect. We do start to see it with Falcon and Winter Soldier. So they, they even go to Madripoor, which was one of my favourite bits of that series. Looked exactly like I had it in my mind and in the comics. It was just brilliant. So the MCU, the heroes are starting to expand out, and that is a point of difference for Moon Knight. I mean, he does globetrot. He's rich enough to actually jet set all over the place. So it'd be interesting. We do see him in Budapest. We know that at least, or whether maybe it's not even Budapest. Maybe it's meant to be another city. We don't know.
Right.
But it's definitely not. The architecture is definitely not American. So, if they somehow try to pass that off as New York, that's going to be pretty difficult. But yeah, I think it's a good idea. As for the Slayers Elite, Chris, I'd love to see them there. They are colourful enough. Sumaru is a big kind of Asian, I don't know, I'm going to say sumo wrestler. It's very stereotypical. I can't remember the other guy's name, but he's got all those acidic needles. Almost looks Sheik-like. And then there's that other dude who's got the guns. So yeah, for sure, that'll be great. Maybe as an opening sequence, they're kind of defeated by Moon Knight, and that's see you later.
Yeah,
how cool would that be for the fans? Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't. I think now that I think about it, the perfect overarching villain for the first season would be the Committee.
Yes, I'd love to see the Committee. Yeah,
but yeah, it just feels like they could definitely update them to be more interesting because they're kind of boring in some of the stories, but.
Or, yeah. Russell, how about the Secret Empire? I know they're not totally Moon Knight, but that would be cool. Like another Hydra or AIM kind of Roxxon. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're pretty...
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure. I mean, you can have Marc, Moon Knight, taking on, like a corporate entity as well. But anyway, so I guess that's... thank you so much for the feedback there. Russell, a huge thank you for jumping on. Look, listeners may not know because this is absolutely seamless, but this recording has spanned a couple of days.
Yes.
So hopefully, if you have the video, you'll probably see the different clothes. But no, huge thank you, Russell, for taking time out. I know that you're a bit under the weather as well, but geez, you're a battler, so good on you.
Yeah, I'm always happy to be on the show, and like I said, This will be my 1 year anniversary of first appearing, and it's always a blast. I always enjoy talking with you, Ray, and we got a few appearances with you on my show lined up.
Absolutely. So can't wait.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
No, it's always been it's always great and very easy to chat with you as well. And let's hope that this is not the last that you'll be on the ITK. There'll be plenty of years and episodes to come. So
yes,
a huge thanks. Before we go as well, of course. Any final? We'll have all this in the show notes. But any final shout outs to Tomes of Evil?
Yeah, just check us out at Tomes of Evil. We talk about a different supervillain every episode. We're doing some big interviews this summer. JMD Mateus, DG Chichester. I've got a few more in the works. We got some sub series. Excuse me. We got Hobgoblin Historia. Working on Fear Files, all about Scarecrow. We got a Star Wars Sith Lord one coming with Connor from Last Sons of Krypton. And then, of course, I know this is long-winded, but the Patreon. Yeah, please check out the Patreon, patreon.com/TomesOfEvilPod, where for just $2, you get all these exclusive shows we're doing. We've got one on The Shadow. We've got one on the dark side of the DC universe. I'm working on one for Valiant's Rye. So, and we'll just have, various other little small projects on there. Like, I think DJ Nick and I are going to watch some old movies and do audio commentary over.
Nice.
But, yeah, please check us out on there. Weeds of Crime, the first one, I'm actually recording tomorrow with Justin the Owl. Yeah, we're excited for that. I think that's the end of my soapbox, Ray. I can't think of anything else.
Oh, no worries. So listeners, check it all out. Russell is would have to be one of the hardest working podcasters out on the scene at the moment. I mean, he's got such a wealth of ideas, plenty of stuff for everyone. So go check it out. It's all in the show notes as well. Speaking of Justin, Next Phase Loonies, Next week, we will be going into 208, 209, and we'll be returning with Justin the Owl. Osgood. Justin's great fun to have a chat with, as I'm sure you know, Russell. But for our idle chat, something a little different, I found a fantastic idea from Justin. We're going to be looking at Egyptian characters, Egyptian superheroes in comics, beyond Moon Knight. Who are they? What are they? We might have to go beyond Marvel because there aren't that many, I don't think. So
he's going to talk about Dr. Fate.
Yeah, this is what he's angling towards, I think.
Yes.
So that will be our idle chat. Very fun. If I might put up a post if you guys know of any other Egyptian heroes or villains, send them in. That'll be fun. And for Khonshu's Relics with Justin, we'll be looking at, I guess, collected formats of Moon Knight. So we were talking about the Epic collections. We might talk about the Omnibus, other releases of the trades and arcs. So that will be quite interesting. So go check it out all next week. Similar to Russell, Patreon. If you check out patreon.com/ITK Moon Knight, we've got lots of incentives there. Please check it out. All of it goes towards the show. We're trying to make it bigger and better. And we really appreciate the likes of Russell, who is a Patroni already, and Justin as well, who will be on helping out with the show. It's really, really, we're really grateful for it. Also, Hello Headphones. If you use the code ITK Moon Knight, you'll get 10% off their online store. Get yourself some headphones. Get some cool ones there, like Russell. If you got the video, you can see. I'm not sure they're not Hello Headphones, Russell, but they look pretty damn good.
They're comfy.
They're comfy. Also, Dreamland Comics. If you use the code MOON, you'll get 20% off their online store. So go check out your Deadpool Moon Knight, Vengeance of the Moon Knight, if you can. Get it off there with 20% off. We're also affiliate members of Entertainment Earth. All your action figure needs. Oh my God, Russell, the Quasar figure is out soon as well, and I think they got a new Silver Surfer one. Looks awesome. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about Masters of the Universe as well.
Yeah, I'm in a room of.
There you go.
For the video people.
For the video people there, you've got a nice little sneak peek at one of the meanest badasses in the universe. If you click the link and purchase it, that will help prop up the show too. Finally, we are part of The Collective, so a huge band of great podcasts. I'm going to cap it off with Tomes of Evil, the likes of Tomes of Evil, a super villain podcast. It's a fantastic show. Everyone loves their heroes, but everyone loves their villains as well, so this covers it all. Great stuff. Headed by Russell, of course. Of course, there are other ones, EMP, Earth's Mightiest Podcast, and Sons of the Dragon and Immortal Iron Fist Podcast, amongst others. Go check them all out. Finally...
Not that guy.
Well, yeah, not that guy. Finally, you can email us, itkmoonnight@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Discord. Get Vocal. We're on Podchaser. We've got a couple of websites as well, so go check out our back catalogue. Also, if you don't mind, a rating would be really cool. Russell, I've got to rate Tomes of Evil. Far out. I haven't done that yet, but
I'd appreciate it. I haven't even seen. I think I've been rated, but I haven't looked at them. I'm kind of afraid.
But, you should do it. It's fun. It's fun. Like, if you've never tried it before, just log in. It's like, I've got some ratings. Really, they're really supportive. So very, very much so. That would be very much appreciated. It just helps us get out there a bit more. Anyway, a final thank you, Russell. Thank you so much. I hope you have a good rest of the evening.
Yes.
Say well. Keep that throat lozenged.
Yeah. Yes. And thanks again for having me, Ray. And I did forget to mention that our big cross promotion this summer, Moon Knight Villain Mania.
Yes.
I'm happy that I'll be having all the high priests on that show, as well as some of the favorite loonies of the ITK community. So, thanks again, Ray. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Right back at you, Russell. And as always, everyone at May Khonshu, watch over the denizens of the night. Catch up.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.